Namaste and greetings once again. As you can see, I'm back. It's the same day as it was the last time I was here. Go figure that one out. Yes. So I've been working more and bringing in the rest of the information. You know, I kind of had an idea that there were certain things that was going to come out. And like I said, they're quick hits, quick beats on them. And then we would be moving on to bigger and better things. It seems as though they are going to prove me right. And I have 1, 2, 3, almost 4 pages of additional material through which they described as the actual introduction to the real book, which means Catherine or I is going to have really sore hands. Yeah, exciting. Smile, it does a body good. Humor is godly, friends. Just smile, let it out. Let it out. So, I believe we left off with the spear to the side of Jesus was intended as an insult to him, O blessed Lucifer, Son of God. Well, that's a shocker in and of itself. For some of you, for some of us, it's not at all, because we've known this for a long time. Believe it or not, it is my belief that the great deception that's mentioned in the book of Revelation is indeed the fact that the Hebrew God, the one that they've been convinced is the true God, is really the Elohim, or Anunnaki, or whatever, and that Lucifer and the ones they've been made out to believe are the devil are the ones who were sent from God. So the real God, the same God that Jesus came from. You notice that those true beings that come from God to have a tendency to meet a poor fate. That's because the people who are writing our history books are killing them. Yes, they are the ones who wrote the histories. They are the ones who have controlled the history. They are the ones who have controlled your systems of government, authority, money. Yes, it is these guys. How can you expect to be within their system and get truth? I mean, total truth. Sure, they're going to give you some. They're going to give you a little bone to chew on. But it's going to be just enough to keep you placated, so they can keep feeding off of your energy. Anyways, I'm not trying to be on the pulpit right now. I just want to read the rest of this. I just wanted to, a little knock, wake up, wake up, wake up. So, if you are awake, let us commence. And now came the days of the Egyptian dynasties. Sekhmet, Osiris, Horus, Seth, and Malaki, M-A-L-A-K-I is what I've got here. Spelling could be different from other translations. This is how they choose to spell it. Did first rule as the sons of God in Egypt. Seth has since talked with you through Jane Roberts and was once associated with Salome's soul. Sekhmet was the chief of the house of Egypt. So much of your past have you lost to the sands of time. In this first rule many returned to God and his ways. This enraged the Elohim, and in a fit of vengeance they tore asunder the body of Osiris. They separated and spread his body across the corners of the world. This, an insult, was to the memory of Vishnu. Pleading to the Father, Rekhei-Abetha, the true mother of Osiris, persuaded God to intervene. Upon the third day, Osiris was returned from the grave. Living many more years, the Elohim could no longer touch the body of Osiris. All that was to be of Egypt began in this day. Many years passed, 2,000 to be approximate, and as always did the Elohim return to the hearts and minds of man. Always did they focus their efforts on the lands near Judea. In this was their continued act of retaliation over the slaying of Pluto, and his people. To this day they focus their gaze on these lands. Freedom for man became a distant dream as into slavery they were herded. But still God interceded, sending Archangel Michael in a pillar of fire. Michael bestowed upon Moses the tablets of life. Not commandments were they, but secrets to sacred geometry. No plagues were brought on by God or his house. It was the Elohim who unleashed such horror on their own people. Quickly they blamed Moses and his God, serving to madden the authorities. Out of bondage did Moses lead man. Speaking from their forked tongues, did the Elohim convince the authorities of Egypt to pursue and destroy everything. With the knowledge of sacred geometry, Moses was able to feed his people. Parting the Reed Sea by a bridge, Moses escaped into territories not controlled by Egypt. These nomads did indeed become the house of Israel. When the great Moses passed away, Joshua took command. But Joshua was an angry man. Forgiveness he could not find. Joshua led Israel, tearing a path of bloodshed and death through the lands of Canaan. Joshua's heart was hard, so he could never hear God. This did not keep him from claiming the authority from heaven. Retaining the wisdom of sacred geometry, Joshua built the first weapon of mass destruction since the days of Atlantis. Claiming it to be from God, he destroyed many lives with it. Long after these days, there came a new king. His name was David. Unlike those before him, David was a kind and gentle king. In his humility, David found favor with God. Calling upon the power of God, Israel became prosperous. And David walked with God. But as with Adam, so too did David succumb to lust. A great chasm came then between David and the Father. With murder on the heart of David, sad we were. But David, a man of conscience, came to realize his mistakes. David wished to build a house for God, but found himself unworthy. Of course, in God's eyes, all are worthy. The story of David is mostly preserved in your scriptures. Decades later, the Elohim struck again. Rules for the priesthood were created by them. This is the point where all traces of your true history is lost. Refer only to those who follow a Judeo-Christian practice. Blood sacrifice was introduced into the Hebrew religion, and what little God remained was now gone. Into the writings of Hebrew history went a myriad of Elohim influences. Demonic souls awaited in the Holy of Holies to beguile and deceive. Forever lost was the voice of the Father in the Hebrew nations. While Hebrew leadership remained under the foot of the Elohim, there were a few brave souls willing to reach out to us. Hearing their cry, we set forth the return of the Christ mind. The Brotherhood of Light are they that prepared the way for the Messiah. The sleeping prophet Casey spoke of them as the Essenes. Strict were they, dedicated to make ready the path of Christ. The time of Christ's arrival was intended to be the final awakening of man. Too deep was the Elohim influence, and the mission of Yeshua was lost. A few mystery schools carried on his teachings, but by and large was his words twisted to serve the Palladian agenda. A Roman god was he crafted into, creating disharmony with his true heritage. So unafraid, mankind was left again to dwell in darkness. Not much more to be spoken of your history from this point on. For it is your future that has the Father's gaze. We are ready to begin the real book now. You know, I am not going to lie to you. In very early stages of my awakening, I had a lot of questions regarding at what point does the God that Jesus spoke of depart from the God of the Old Testament. And, you know, who was who, what was what. And I've had plenty of ideas. I mean, you can read the Old Testament and you can see beautiful stories of love and compassion. But then you can turn the page and read these stories of slaughtering and death and vengeance and judgment. Well, like anyone with a sane mind, I had trouble accepting and putting the two together. Now, I know that the first Bible ever put together, a collection of books, was not with an Old Testament, because they believed that the Hebrew God was a false God, and that there is no way that that God could be the same God that Jesus taught of. So, even with all that knowledge, you know, of the Gnostics, there's still a great chasm of, to use their word, of info for me. You know, what happened? I mean, when did this happen? When did that happen? You know, how do I know what this is or what that is? And it seems here that we've gotten answers. And for me, these, you know, again, I've said it before. All I can say is that which is speaking through me, and a few others that probably are not aware of it yet, that which is speaking through me is real and legit. Whether or not you find them to be truthful and honest is your decision. I only know what I've witnessed and experienced in my time in the last 4 years, the things I've seen and experienced, and based on everything, not just from them, but from my psychic development mentor, other psychics I've seen from other channel material that, by the way, met the criteria that I placed before it. Everything from people who've never seen me before. Everything's pointing to, you know, the same block of information. And with miracle healings thrown in the mix, you know, I just got to go with it. You know, they have made it clear that their purpose is to bring love and compassion and Christ consciousness to this world. And anyone who is trying to do that has my attention. And, you know, that's really all I can say about it. I mean, Christ consciousness, that's it. That's what I live for. If that's something you can dig, hey, you know, maybe these videos are what you need to be watching. I don't know. Maybe this book, when it's all said and done, is going to be something you want to add to your collection. Maybe, maybe not. If I even sell it. I don't know if I'm going to sell it. I may just put it online. I don't know what's going to happen with it. I just know we're going to go through a lot of these little notepads and a lot of ink getting it on paper. So, yeah, it's really exciting to read this, and it all seems to make sense to me, and it all seems to line up with everything that I have researched myself, so I'm sorry. I didn't sleep much last night because I woke up after every dream with knowing what it was. Yeah. So, let's see how it goes. Let's see what happens. If they are truthful and honest, then we should see the return of Christ very soon, based on their messages. And I, for one, cannot wait to see that. With all that's going on in the world today, couldn't we stand to have a miracle? And I mean a miracle. With that, I love you all. May your shift into the next form of man be gentle and smooth. And I love you. And we will see you soon. Namaste.